Should Oregon fans be worried?
You are Locked On Ducks, your daily podcast on the Oregon Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, it is that time once again for Locked On Ducks. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin. Thank you so much for making this your first listen or your first view of the day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and your number one source to stay up to date with the Ducks, which is why if you have not already, please like, comment, subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to or watch this show, which today is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Make every moment more as playoffs wind down, the sports stop sporting like we want them to, but this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone every day all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. And we'll get started with Oregon's playoff odds. Evan Stewart and the Biletnikoff. Is it completely unfeasible? And then the style of play in the Big Ten and a new basketball court for Oregon to take into their new conference. But something Oregon is definitely taking into the Big Ten this year are big expectations. And I just wonder, I am supremely confident in saying Oregon is a Big Ten title contender, playoff contender, national championship contender. They're capable of doing that. The hype around Oregon keeps getting higher, though, and I would be surprised if there aren't at least a few Oregon fans out there that aren't wondering to themselves, is this hype too much? Am I getting too excited? Am I setting myself up for a big, massive letdown if things don't go according to plan, which, of course, they don't always. Oregon's postseason history has not been as bad as someone make it out to be. It certainly hasn't yet been what Oregon is looking for, and that is its first national championship. One thing I think Oregon fans should consider is all you can actually do in sports is give yourself the best chance you can every year and hope the chips fall your way. It's like playing, what's that game? Like Plinko? You know, on The Price is Right, where you drop the thing down. If you drop it in this row or this row, that's just as good as dropping it in this row, as long as you drop it and you don't, throw it off the board because you have absolutely positively no hope. But sometimes you just need the bounces to go your way. You need to win a close game. You need to have somebody make a field goal. You need to get a critical call here or there. You need to have a crazy trick play or something work out. Sometimes you just need that. Sometimes if you go back and look at national championship runs, a lot of them have plays like that. I mean, Michigan won the national championship last year. They were losing. They were losing with less than 2 minutes to go in the Rose Bowl. They were trailing in that football game. Went down tight and got to overtime. What if they don't get that 4th and 2? They don't win the national championship. It can be that thin of a margin. But the hype around Oregon continues to grow. There has been a groundswell of it in the betting community. So when the playoff odds first came out, Oregon was around a minus 200 favorite, which is a pretty sizable favorite, seeing as how only 4 schools in the entire country are minus 200 or better to make the playoff. Oregon's now up to minus 250. Now, I don't know if that money is coming from sharps or if that's coming from the public. Somebody out there is supremely confident in Oregon. I saw Jeff Schwartz talking about this on Twitter the other day, and all Oregon fans should be following Jeff. He is a great follow, entertaining, informative, really, really good guy from the looks of it. Have not had the chance to meet him. Would love to get him on the show one day, but he is a great follow. And he was saying, should we be worried? Should Oregon fans be worried about, how much hype that they're getting, how much attention they are getting? And the reality is twofold. On the one hand, yes, because the higher you climb and the bigger you are built up to be, the harder you fall. On the flip side, how many teams win a national championship when they don't have preseason top 5 or 10 odds? And yeah, Oregon's are insanely high. They have the 3rd best odds to make the playoff this year. It is Ohio State minus 650, which means Vegas thinks they're just going to absolutely positively cruise through their schedule. whether or not they lose to Oregon, they think Ohio State minimum is going 11-2. And look, they're backing that up over at FanDuel with the line they have set for Ohio State, Michigan, which is Ohio State minus 9.5. So they probably think, Oregon is the team that is most likely to beat them. And even if they beat them, they might not do it twice, which is certainly going to be a difficult proposition, though not an impossible one for either team to do. And then Ohio State would probably be at 11 wins either way. Whether or not they have a conference championship, they're probably in it. Now, they don't feel quite as good about Oregon, but same sort of vibe because Georgia's minus 500. So those two teams feel like locks. And then there's Oregon at minus 250, followed by Texas at minus 230. There are only 8 schools that have minus odds to make the playoff. One of them's Michigan, which I don't fully understand, but that's a small number. And for Oregon to be one of 4 that's more than minus 200, it made me think about golf. And I think about golf all the time because for those who don't know, I'm a big golfer. In fact, as you're listening to or watching this show, there's about I look at when people listen to and watch this show, there's about a 70% chance that I'm on the golf course as you're listening to or watching this show through the magic of technology. For those of you out there that play, you will very much understand this. When you're beginning to play golf, what the first step that you are trying to accomplish is become what's called a bogey golfer, where you play for bogey as par, and you're trying to shoot around 90 plus or minus 5 shots. And that's not as easy as it sounds. Anyone who plays golf knows what I'm talking about. If you're a bogey golfer, consistently, you shoot, kind of low to mid 90s, every now and then you pop down in the 80s. If you make, which is a good place to be, that's a good place to be as a golfer. If you make 2 birdies in a row, you have this feeling of, what do I do? How do I feel? How did I do this? Is this allowed? Is this happening? Are we really doing this? I kind of think that's how Oregon's preseason expectations are right now. It keeps getting higher. The hype machine keeps rolling along. I think Oregon fans are used to being able to go into a season and feel good about their chances to compete for a conference championship, playoff spot, national championship. But having it be an expectation like this, that you make the playoff, now part of that is the 12-team era. Part of that's the 12-team era to be sure. But if this were still the 4-team playoff, based on where things are set right now, I don't think the hype around Oregon would be any different. I think they would still have the 3rd best odds in the country to make the playoff. So I got to thinking about what, Oregon will need to get there. 11 wins is probably the number. Because I was thinking about this. If Oregon goes 10-2 in the regular season, it'll be better if they don't make the Big Ten championship game, depending on what everything else looks like. 10-2 Big Ten or SEC probably gets into the playoff. But a 10-3 that loses the Big Ten championship game, like let's just say hypothetically, Oregon goes 10-2, they lose to Ohio State and they lose to Michigan on the road. So they've got wins against Wisconsin on the road, they've got wins against Washington, and let's say they're blowing out everybody else. If they lose those 2 games and then go to the Big Ten championship game, but then lose to Ohio State again, they might not make the playoff. And that's the conundrum that the 12-team era brings in with conference championship games is if you're 10-2, or any playoff can sort of, because this happened to USC in 2022 as well, Lincoln Riley's first year there, they were 11-1. Well, if everything had ended that day, they wouldn't have been in the playoff, but they went to play Utah. They lost, and Ohio State got in without a conference championship. So there's always been that conundrum at some level. I think there will be more teams that could be involved with it this year. I think if Oregon wins double-digit games, they have a really good chance of getting in. But if they're 10-2 and they're going into the Big Ten championship game, suddenly that becomes a borderline must-win scenario, which I'm, as a college football fan, okay with. But there are a lot of different ways that can play out. So I noticed that, thought it was worth discussing, and thus we have. Let me know your thoughts in the YouTube comments or X, formerly known as Twitter. I love Oregon's receiving core. Everybody loves Oregon's receiving core. Could Evan Stewart do something that we've never seen before? That's coming up next. Coming up right now is FanDuel. I love sports. Did you know that? Did you know that about my everydayers? Probably know that very well. I love them so much, I never want them to stop. Hence why I'm a baseball fan, because it keeps me going here in the summer months. Hence why I do this show every day throughout the summer. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. especially when the Mariners stink. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want, and they can do that for you as well. All you have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime that you are in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. Daily. They're hooking it up. That's just how they roll over there. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer. Maybe you want to bet Oregon minus 250 to make the playoff. If they get there, that'd be a heck of a season. They should get there. It would be a bummer if they don't. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Bet it one way or the other. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Good hard second segment sip there. Was playing wiffle ball earlier with my brother and a friend. That was electric. Works up a certain level of thirst, though, I tell you. All right, let's go into the mailbag. YouTube comments or X, formerly known as Twitter, if you want priority access and all sorts of other perks. Go join the flock over at Subtext. That link in the description below wherever you listen to or watch this show. Free 14-day trial. Then it's just $5 a month. You get all sorts of other perks, like a chance to talk with me one-on-one far more often than people on social media do. So this question came in via the Twitter direct mentions from Peyton. Could Evan Stewart win the Biletnikoff, the award given to the best wide receiver in all of college football? No, I don't think he can. Does that mean he can be the best wide receiver in college football? Yes. I think he has that sort of ceiling. This is a guy who in his first 2 years at Texas A&M is yet to amass a 1,000-yard season. Why? Because they were constantly changing offensive coordinators. They were constantly changing quarterbacks, and their head coach was using an offensive philosophy that hasn't worked in a decade. It wasn't good. They made a change. They paid Jimbo Fisher $75 million to go away. A little technical snafu there, but I don't even think I could spend $75 million. Now that gets taxed, so that'd actually be like 37.5. I could probably spend that over a long period of time. 75? No. If you give me $75 million untaxed, I would struggle I'd be set for life. And I would still do the show because I appreciate you all very much. But the reason I say Evan Stewart can't win the Biletnikoff is we just saw the best individual receiver season in the history of Oregon football. Troy Franklin tied the single-season record for receptions, which Tez Johnson then broke by playing in the Fiesta Bowl, and he set the single-season record for touchdowns and yards. He was not a finalist for the Biletnikoff. Like, it's clearly hard. Maybe there just has to be more of a brand built up at that position. Maybe Oregon just has to have more seasons where guys have 1,000 yards or more and 10-plus touchdowns. I don't know. But here's the thing. There are a lot of talented receivers in college football. It is a scorching hot position for talent at the high school, college, and NFL ranks. It's a big-time position. Colin Cowherd used to describe them as the icing on the cake. They're the cake now. Quarterback, receiver, left tackle. Those are the most important, most well-paid positions along with edge rusher in the NFL. So that's where you see a lot of high-level talent coming in and being developed in college. So I think that for Evan Stewart, he is going to, in all likelihood, have his best season because I think he puts up 1,000 yards this year. The question is, how high over does he go? Because to be a Biletnikoff award winner, you have to have, at least 14, 15 touchdowns. You got to have at least 1,300 yards. And even that is not a guarantee. And there's a, subjective nature to it. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. last year won the award before the season even started. Like, that award, I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is great, and he's a top-tier NFL prospect. That award was given to him before the season began, and he's outstanding. I didn't have a problem with him being a finalist, but I say this because I'm being honest as an Oregon fan. Rome Odunze was more deserving to win the Biletnikoff. He just was. Malik Neighbors was probably more deserving to win the Biletnikoff at LSU. But it went to Marvin Harrison Jr. So the narrative for some of these awards can be a really, really big factor. And Evan Stewart looking to have a breakout year, I just don't think that that's something that can really come to fruition. And I don't think Oregon needs it to. I think it's an interesting thought because he's talented enough to win that award. I just don't know. If you think back to when LaMichael won the Doak Walker Award or when Mariota won the Heisman, they had 1 or 2 years of establishing themselves in college football, playing in front of voters, playing nationally televised games, putting up great numbers going into a season where you have that high expectation. Oregon fans have high expectations. I know what he's capable of. Is he generating that level of buzz? No. So he would have to go bonkers, and I think Oregon's receiving core is too deep, and that's a good problem to have. For him to win that award, he'd probably have to be 1,500 plus yards, beat Troy Franklin's record last year, and 15 or more touchdowns. I don't think he's going to do that. Why? Because Oregon's receiving core is sick. I mean, there have been a bunch of Twitter accounts and opinion hosts and all sorts of people that are saying Oregon's got the best receiving core in the country. I tend to agree. I don't know of one. Certainly, there aren't any in the Big Ten that are as good as Oregon. Like, I think USC's is good. It's not as good as Oregon's. I wholeheartedly do not believe that. I think Zachariah Branch at USC would start in Oregon's receiving lineup. Nobody else would. Evan Stewart, Tez, that's as good a 1-2 tandem as you're going to find in all of college football. So, no, I don't think he can win the Biletnikoff, but no, I don't think it's a problem. It's just kind of the reality. Like, Mariota had those 2 years where Oregon was winning a bunch of games and he was really good. And then he won the Heisman. He wasn't a finalist the previous 2 years. And LaMichael had that true freshman season. He was really good that year. Don't think he won the Doak Walker Award, but he won it in 2010, and he was a Heisman finalist then. Why? He had a season to show everybody what he was capable of. Evan Stewart could do it if he comes back for his senior season. I don't anticipate him doing that either, though it would be pretty sweet. Speaking of wide receivers, here's a pop candidate take. If you want me to talk about a player's individual season or whether or not he could be a pop candidate, somebody who was on last year's team that is going to have a better statistical year in 2024, let me know. I'm curious. I've talked about several in the past, but always happy to go into new names. This one from Nathan. To me, the pop candidate is Tez. He's proven Troy is no longer around. He should be due for a plus 700-yard gain if he clicks with Gabriel. Whoa. Whoa. Can I rank this on the hotness meter? I don't mean like attractiveness. I'm just saying 1 being ice cold, freezing take. This is ridiculous. 10 being scorching hot at the other end, and 5 being down the line, measured, even, and practical. Or, Vulcan, you could say. Live long and prosper. Just be logical. No, this would be a 10. That would result in Tez Johnson pushing for 1,900 yards receiving. Remember, Troy Franklin just set the record at over 1,400 yards. A 700-yard gain? Look, even if Oregon, Tez played in the bowl game last year, so he played in all 14 games. If Oregon were to have an extra playoff game or two because they're making a run, I still don't see plus 700 yards coming into play. I mean, he was really good last year. He's going to be really good again. But man, yeah, 1,182 yards last year. Over 1,800, almost 1,900 yards. No, I don't think Tez is a pop candidate. I think he's one of those important returners that Oregon's offense needs and that the team needs from a leadership standpoint to reach their full potential. But that is as hot of a pop candidate take as I have seen. Like, one I did recently was Tatum Tuioti will have 10 plus combined tackles for loss and sacks. I can see that. I think it goes just under, but I can see him doing that. Tez with a plus 700? No. That would be, it'd be awesome. I don't think that's going to happen. Send me your predictions. If you want one evaluated on the show, I'm all about that stuff right now. I'm also all about the Big Ten style of play and how Oregon fits into that, because I think they fit into it very well. And we've got ourselves a new basketball court. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about eBay Motors too. Why? Because passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. They've got superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want. It's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit. Only available to U.S. customers. The mailbag is loaded with questions, but you can keep them coming because we're going to get to them. I always do. This from Blazer Duck, a regular longtime question asker. Appreciate you as always. Spencer, everyone talks about how good the defense is in the Big Ten. 2 questions for you because I'd love to hear the actual numbers. 1, where did all of last year's Big Ten teams statistically rank nationally by the end of the year in overall team defense? Would you please compare them to the teams in the Pac-12? Number 2, same question as above, but with the offense. Thanks, as always. Well, as always, I've got an answer for you. So the best way, I think, to frame what you're getting at here and how different of a conference the Big Ten is to look at how many teams they put inside the top 25 nationally. Compared to the rest of the country, where did they fall? So offensively, in points per game, the Big Ten a season ago had one team, and that was Michigan, not Ohio State. It was Michigan, top 25 in points per game. They had 0 top 25 in yards per game. That was offensively. Defensively is where it gets exciting, but also boring because they don't score as many points, but that depends on what kind of football fan you are. 6 teams inside the top 25 nationally in points per game scoring defense, including the top 4. Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State, Iowa. The top 4 teams all in the Big Ten. In yards per game, 5 inside the top 25. So this question has come up before. This talking point has been circulated, and I think Oregon is well positioned to do either. I feel going into 2024 that this Oregon team can win a shootout and they can win a slugfest. You look at those games in November on the road at Michigan and at Wisconsin. Those are Oregon's toughest road games of the year. I don't know that it's particularly close. Those teams, when you look at how they fare, Wisconsin was top 25 in one of the defensive metrics, and Michigan was top 25. Michigan was top 2 or 3 in those 2 key defensive metrics a year ago in the country. And they certainly lost a lot of players. They're still going to have a really good defense. They have a good defensive coordinator. Wink Martindale came down from the NFL to be their DC after Jesse Minter left to go be with Jim Harbaugh and coach our boy Justin Herbert, hopefully to a lot of wins with the LA Chargers. That Michigan defense won't be as good as last year. That's too high a standard. The offense won't be as good. They'll still be good. I think they have a chance to be, kind of 70-75% of what they were a season ago, which is still a good team. I just look at the way this Oregon team is constructed, and over the last couple of years, they have won whenever the defense has played well enough because no one's been able to stop them offensively. And you compare it to the Pac-12, you have far fewer teams. Oregon had a great defense last year. Utah had a great defense last year. UCLA had a great defense last year, and that was kind of it. That was kind of it. The Pac-12 won with offense, and ultimately in the national championship game, what's the old adage? Defense wins championships, and Michigan's defense was better than Washington's offense. That's what it came down to, and Michigan was better. So I think going into this Big Ten, it's not an accident that Oregon has recruited the defensive side of the ball in a big time way over the last couple of recruiting classes, and they're going to do so again, once things start to pick up in 2025. I think Dan Lanning would do that anyway because it's the style of football he wants to play. I think it just allows Oregon to be well suited because they still recruit offensive players really well. I mean, preseason metrics have got Oregon as one of the best offenses in the entire country, with a good offensive line. Certainly a couple of questions at center and right guard, but the other 3 spots, no questions. We know exactly what those guys are. We saw them start all of last season, and they were really, really good. You got running backs who are really good. Tight ends, are good. Receivers that might be the best in all of college football. A veteran quarterback. You got a lot of things working for you there. And an offensive coordinator who is returning. And they've got staff continuity for the most part outside of the Carlos Loughlin departure. So there's a lot to like about Oregon on that side of the ball. The question then becomes, well, if you're going to go play a game that you don't score 30 points, because Oregon scored at least 30 points in every single game last year. They might not do that this year. Are they built to win in a way that doesn't include scoring 35 points and holding your opponents to somewhere in the 20s or less? I think they are. I think that this defense, particularly in the trenches, is incredibly well established for that. To play a team like Michigan State that's going to be physical and run the ball. They won't be that great this year. Or to play, an improved Purdue team for this season, or a Wisconsin team under second-year head coach Luke Fickell, or a physical Michigan team. I don't know how much more well-built you can be. I mean, the defensive line, best I've seen at Oregon since 2014, when they had Defoe and Eric Armstead, and this group might be even deeper than that group. I'd have to go check what the full two deep was, but it's in that sort of range. So I think Oregon is incredibly well suited to do both. It is definitely a different conference, and Oregon is not going to score as many points per game as they did last year because you don't have Bo Nix at quarterback, and you're going to play tougher defenses. They should still be one of, if not the top scoring offense in the Big Ten. I fully expect that to be the case. But good question. Keep them coming. So going to close with this today. Matthew Knight Arena has got a new court. Now, a couple of thoughts. First of all, I think it looks good. Second of all, I never hated the old court as much as everyone else did, though I understand why a change was made, especially going into the Big Ten. And third of all, I laughed when I saw that they still put trees on the court. Now, if you haven't seen the images, go check out, Go Ducks social media. They put out this really cool video because the Oregon social team just is a bunch of butt kickers, man. I mean, gosh, they're good. Every time. Every time. And there's going to be a uniform drop on June 26th, which is Wednesday of this week. So be on the lookout for that, for those Generation O uniforms. There's going to be a video on the 25th, which is Tuesday, and then they'll come out on the 26th. But I laughed when I saw that there were still trees on the court because that was everybody's problem with it. It's an eyesore. The trees are too invasive. And yeah, I see how you think that. I think in person it looked a lot cooler than it did on TV. But they just they still went with the trees. I was like, oh my gosh, I hope everybody's okay with that. I hope everybody likes that enough because this was the problem that you had before, but they are much subtle. They are much softer. They are not as in your face. They are green instead of brown. They are much more subtle in the way that they're presented. So I think, everybody that went into designing that court, I think they did a good job. And I think now we'll see how it looks on TV because things in person or in a social video can look different than they do when it's just a camera angle. But, Oregon going into the Big Ten, you might as well have a good looking court because I think that even without N'Faly Dante, I think they've got a really, really good looking team and should be one of the top 3 or 4 in the Big Ten this year. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful rest of your day and go Ducks.